Hi everyone, I'm Leanne, the Barefoot Medium, and welcome to Barefoot TV, where we provide you with weekly guidance, insight, and practical tools and techniques to help support you on your journey of transformation, connection, and growth with all things love, soul, and spirit. Now, for those of you joining me for the first time, as I said, my name's Leanne, the Barefoot Medium. I am an international medium, channel, twin flame, intuitive coach, and author, originally from Brisbane, Australia, and living in Colombia, South America. I am absolutely passionate about supporting people to reconnect with their loved ones who've passed over, their intuitive and psychic gifts, as well as helping them to find practical tools and techniques they can use in their everyday lives to connect more with who you are, more of your authentic self, and to live your joy, live your passion, live your purpose. So kick off your shoes, sit back, relax, and join Pauline Longdon and I for today's show. Now, Pauline is an emotional direct response copywriter and marketer who has crammed a decade of copyright experience into only a few short years. She has made a seamless transition from Army nursing major to a complementary therapist and teacher, then a businesswoman, and now a well-paid and in-demand copywriter. Pauline is absolutely passionate about helping business owners get their heartfelt and meaningful messages in front of their market in the highest and best way possible, using her spiritual gifts and psychic abilities in amongst it to find the solutions that people want and need. Not only is Pauline here on Barefoot TV today to share her story, which I'm so excited to get to connect with you and hear a little bit more about. She's also here to talk about putting your heart in your writing. So welcome, Pauline.
Yeah, thank you, Leanne. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you share with people who are watching today a little bit about your background, a little bit about how you've come to be doing the copywriting that you're doing, and your journey so far?
Yeah, it's quite a journey to get here when I look back, and it's only really been like probably 12, 13 years since it all began. Back in 2005, I was a major in the Army. I was in the nursing course. I was a registered nurse, and I was facing a big change in my life. I'd been diagnosed with major depression, and I could barely read or write. And my brain was so fried, and I was just totally burnt out with life. Didn't want to be here anymore. And so I was facing discharge from the Army. I always thought that I'd be in there for at least 20 years or now really, until I went grey. I had brown hair back then, but now I rather like the grey. But so I was facing discharge from the Army. I was told that I would never nurse again. I was told that I'd always have depression forever. And so deep within my soul, I thought, well, what's the point of being here? So, I did try to commit suicide, but I pulled out at the very last minute, just before the point of impact when my car was supposed to hit a tree. And then I stopped, and you'll appreciate this because a voice screamed out, "Stop the effing car." So I did. It startled me out of my, suicidal trance. So that sort of put me into a spin. It's like, well, if I can't commit suicide, why am I supposed to be here? Obviously I've got to make the best out of everything. So I knew that I couldn't go back to nursing, and actually I found out years later that was a lie. I could have, but there's a silver lining in the curse actually. So I decided then, okay, what do I want to do? I don't want to go and work for other people. I don't have that capacity at that stage. I could still barely read or write. I just didn't have the cognitive and comprehension skills. Had so much self-doubt. I was writing in pencil because I thought I wasn't worth ink. I was just really down, really at that very much lower than, rock bottom. Anyway, so then I started to look around for, at the same time I looked around for therapies that could help me because I couldn't take antidepressants because I'd had such a horrible incident on those. I ended up with serotonin syndrome, which was terrifying. So from that moment, I just vowed that I'd never put another antidepressant in my mouth. And like I appreciate that they're good for some people, and they were good for me when they were good for me, but then you just know inherently or intuitively when they're no longer good for you, and your body will tell you. Well, my body told me. So I had to do something to recover from major depression without medication. So I found a couple of spiritual healing techniques, and they worked, and everyone was laughing at me saying, you know, that's just a placebo effect, you know, that's just, it's all lies, it's all whatever. And you know what, Leanne, I don't care what it was, what other people call it. It worked. And the fact that I'm still here, you know, 13 years later after wanting to kill myself is testament to the fact that they actually work. So whatever people call them, I call them, you know, a miracle, because it actually worked. And not only did I recover from depression, I wanted to be on the planet, which is a huge thing.
Yeah. And I love how you bring in the fact that, you know, that little voice inside said, no, you can't do that. Stop. There's a bigger picture, a bigger purpose. And, you know, I can relate to you with your nursing background. I studied psychology at uni, and, you know, that scientific mind and the placebo and all of that, but it brings it all together now to be able to see that bigger picture. But what I want to talk about is, you know, when you're in the army, were you conscious and were you present to, you know, what was going on with your emotions and with your thoughts and with that side of things, or not?
It's really funny because I'm going to share something with you that I don't believe I've shared with anyone else, and I'll share it with you because you get it, and also your audience will, and other people who don't get it will think that I'm crazy, and that's fine. When I was going through major depression, it's almost like a woman was standing over me all the time, and I actually thought it was like a spiritual guide or a family member or something like that. And she used to frustrate me because, you know, I know that, like, when you learn mediumship and all that sort of stuff, it's like, okay, then they're going to tell you who they are. There's spiritual laws that, you know, they have to reveal who they are. Well, that's what I was told anyway. But this woman would never, ever tell me who she was, never reveal her face, never tell me her identity, but just always told me to trust her. And when you're in the depths of depression, the bowels of depression, I'll call it, because it is pretty crappy, sometimes she would annoy me. I'd just tell her to go away and not, you know, come back. Anyway, so later on, probably in about 2009, maybe 2010, I was doing a really advanced spiritual healing course, and it was taking me beyond any realms of comfortability that I'd ever encountered. And the teacher just said something very, very off the cuff, and she said, have you ever thought that the past, the present, and the future is all happening at the same time? And in that moment, and I still get the chills right now, I've got them, you know, happening here.
Yes.
And I just realized who the hell that woman was, because she had such a familiarity. I thought that she's my great-grandmother. Then I thought she might have been my grandmother. Freaking turns out it was me, like a future version of myself, coming back and just checking in on myself and say, because she would say to me, these are her exact words, "It's okay, little one, not long to go, you'll be fine." And I'm going, how can you even say that? Like, I don't even think I have a future, and here you are telling me, don't worry, little one, it's all fine. And it's like, wow. So that was a huge thing for me, and that actually opened me up to some of the principles and the things that I do to this day. You know, if I'm going to make a big decision that's going to change my future, I actually just tap in and go, okay, so future self, is this a good decision? Is this going to help your life, or does it make it worse? And you know what? This has been a game changer for me in the game of life, is to just even contemplate that you can talk to yourself in the future.
Yeah. And, you know, we all have those innate intuitive abilities, and you know, whether you call it intuition or a knowing or psychic gifts or whatever you want to call it, everyone has them. And you know, I'm living in a very Catholic country, so as a psychic medium, who works with people and talks to, you know, your dead loved ones, essentially, I've had to work through some challenges to, you know, allow people to believe in that. The reality is that people believe in a God, whether that's God, Buddha, Muhammad, angels, archangels, spirit, universe, whatever.
Yep.
But there's essentially no physical proof that that exists, but we believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't we believe in intuitive, psychic beings that help and support us? Like you said, you're
Exactly.
the self.
Mm. Well, look, I believe now, and people may think that I'm crazy, and maybe I am, but, you know, science can't prove everything. And, you know, people who put that up as a challenge or an objection, you know, people didn't know that penicillin existed. People didn't know that, you know, you could take x-rays of people's body. Even like when you look, because I used to teach intuitive anatomy, and I used to teach students to scan into the body, and I say, don't expect it to look like a CT scan, because really that's just a representation of the data of that the machine's getting. Who's to say that your body even looks like that on the inside? So just see it the way you see it and experience things as you experience them. And just because science allegedly proves something to be within these parameters, maybe their machines can only measure these parameters. Imagine if they could measure out there and even further what the findings would be. So it's sort of like now we see science catching up with what people knew intuitively for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, even like they used to think that the sun rotated around the earth. Then they realized that, hey, wait a minute, we got it a bit wrong. We actually rotate around the sun. I mean, human development and intellect is always evolving. So
exactly. They're just
I never
theories,
just
aren't they, until they're proven correct or incorrect.
Exactly. And even if they are incorrect, maybe you haven't used the right methodology in proving them. So, you know, I just always like to keep an open mind to everything, you know, because when I left the army, I couldn't read or write very well. Am I then to believe that I'm illiterate and I have to stay like that forever or be depressed forever? I could have believed that, but I chose not to, thankfully.
And I love how, you know, that challenge in itself at that point in your life, it was a challenge that you've now turned that into your gift. And
absolutely.
you've worked with that. So talk to me a little bit more about how you stepped into the copywriting and the marketing work.
Yeah, because that is a bit interesting, because the way that happened, Leanne, was as you know, I had a very successful healing and teaching business, and I wanted to reach more people. I sort of got to a plateau, and I thought, you know, I'm happy where I am, but I would really love to be doing larger classes. And I had clients from all around the world, and I even had students travel from as far away as Switzerland and the Canary Islands to be taught by me in Brisbane. So that was pretty good, but I just wanted to get more local, you know, I wanted to help people locally. So I started to learn marketing, which is, you know, a way of, you know, strategically getting your message out to the people. But, you know, I was just doing the Me Too stuff. I was copying off everyone else. It's sort of like the blind leading the blind. So then I hired a company to do some marketing for me, and I've got to tell you, it sucked. The copy, which is the writing and then the message, made me sound like a charlatan. I wouldn't have even bought off myself. So I asked for the copy to be rewritten, and the guy said, one of the guys said, if you think you can do better, then go and do better. And my indigo words back at him was, I honestly can't do any worse, so I'm going. Because I was a bit angry back then. And so, yeah, off I went. So I learned how to do copywriting, and the more I did my own copywriting, the more other people noticed and went, hey, can you do some writing for me? And then I ended up writing for a copywriting team in Australia, which was quite prestigious at the time to be writing on that team. And I was the only female for a while on that team.
Wow.
And yeah, and then just went on from there. Then I started to freelance. More and more people just asked me to write for them. And then I found myself in America, going to courses and meeting people and the legends in the industry, because I like to go to the source of the information, and I guess we're quite spoiled when we do the kind of, you know, spiritual work that we do. We get such a pure source, and so when I learn a skill from someone who's learned a skill from someone else, and it's like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy, it gets blurred.
Yep.
By the time you get it. So I vowed that let's just go straight to the source. Let's go straight to the people who developed this. And so that's been part of my journey in copywriting and marketing, is to go to the mountain. Don't expect the mountain to come to you. And some of these, the legends in the industry are quite good friends of mine now. And I don't say that to boast. I just say that, you know, people say, oh, well, you're so lucky you met them. And it's like, no, I actually went out of my way. You know, get out of your own way and, you know, do what you want to do.
Yeah. Open up to that possibility. And, you know, I love how you talk about, you know, the blurring, because, and, you know, I've been, my background's in teaching at universities and corporate. So I spent 15 years in corporate management, in managing 50 teachers and 4 or 5 different programs at university, as well as teaching students. So I kind of know about that side of things. And, you know, I then stepped into the spiritual industry, and managing a business for me is something that I can do, no problem at all. And the writing side, can do that. I'm not great at marketing. And let me tell you, I'm not sure if you're aware, we run some retreats here in Colombia. And for me, I was like, right, I don't know how to put together the copyright on retreats. So I joined a group about how to do that. I thought, okay, let's get in and learn something, because I love learning. Oh, wow. And similar experience to you, where I went, oh, I've just got to redo all of this. So I kind of put all this energy in, and then I stepped back, and like I said, I've now got someone working with me full time on my marketing and PR, and he's just gone, what are you doing? That's not even you.
And that's the truth, isn't it? Because when people write, they think that they're trying to write a literary like work of art, like they're trying to write the next, you know, Pulitzer Prize winner, and that's not the truth. You know, it for me, writing and how you mentioned earlier how to get heart into your writing is just the way that I see it, Leanne, is I just see writing as an intimate conversation between two people, me and you. Like if I was writing something for you, I would imagine you sitting right in front of me. And the only difference is that I'm actually having the conversation from your side. And it's actually funny, because like copywriters are notorious for talking to themselves internally and externally. I'll be walking around the house going, whoa, and Ray, my partner goes, who? Oh, okay, sorry, you're writing copy again. And it's like the more you actually have those conversations, the clearer your message gets. And so what I imagine when I'm writing my copy for my clients is I'm not writing for the client, I'm writing for their client, I'm writing for their market, but I'm trying to do it from their perspective, which is sort of like almost like different personalities coming into play. But but to get heart into your copy, and even if you're trying to sell something, which really we all are, let's be honest, sales aren't bad. Sales is just simply providing a solution to a problem that someone else has, and the sales part is that you do it at a profit, or you do it for some sort of remuneration or reward. And so if you think of sales like that, it's not sleazy. And if it is sleazy and you feel that you're becoming like what you said, oh, that's not me, it's like, well, you're out of alignment with your message, and people will see that. But so really just it's having an intimate conversation of, I think about writing to my mum. She's skeptical. She's a Capricorn. She's awesome, but she really would put me on the spot. And so it's like even when you're starting to write, go, hi, Mum. I just found out about this great opportunity. And then you think, no, actually I wouldn't talk to my mum like that. I wouldn't say, hey mum, there's this great opportunity. Just go, hey mum, I was actually out walking the other day and I saw a shop that's new in my area. It actually sells these things, and I know that you've been looking for these things for a while, and blah blah blah. Here's all the benefits. Put a bit of emotion into it, and then you just close it off. It's like when you really try to sell something, that's when you're out of alignment with yourself and what people want. Because I'll tell you something: people love to buy things, but they hate to be sold to.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like if you just are introducing them to the solution to the biggest problem that they have, you'll make the sale, or you'll convert them to your way of thinking, but you have to take them on a journey to do that.
Yeah.
And that's something that I didn't realize when I was trying to sell the courses and little things that I was doing, was I was trying to sell from my perspective of like, this is what you need. You need this. And actually, it's something, because I was thinking about this interview today, and I had a realization. In the industry, people say, sell them what they want and give them what they need. I've heard that my whole copywriting and marketing career, and I actually realized today how arrogant that is, and I'm going to be writing blogs and that about it. Yeah. So this is new stuff for you, but and the world really, because think about it. If I'm saying that someone wants something and that's what they've told me that they want and they need, but I'm saying that I'm going to give them what they want, but I'm also going to give them what they need. From whose perspective is that? That's actually from my perspective. Yeah. How dare I do that?
Yeah.
You know, that's the wrong energy. And that's where I think that a lot of people, they try to sell things, try to do it from the wrong energy, and they have failure after failure. Humans hate to fail. Yep. And so then they just go, nah, selling's not for me. Selling's bad. Selling's evil, blah, 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 and all that. And it's not actually. It's just that I think we've been all taught to do it the wrong way.
Yeah. And that kind of reminds me of when I work with clients, I talk about what are your stories that you've got playing out, whether it's around business, money, relationships, whatever. Then what are those negative, fear-based, limiting stories that you've got playing out? And are they actually yours?
Yes.
Or are they someone else's story that they've put in your space and you're making it true?
Yes, very much so.
Taking it on. So thank you, because that really does remind me of that. And there's been, like you, in your experiences through the army and all that you've been through in life, limiting beliefs and stories and all of
Absolutely.
that. That really limits our potential or holds us back from being the most powerful, most loving, most aligned beings that we can be, and out of our truth, which is, in truth, you can do anything that you want to do. You can be anything that you want to be. You can write. You can tap into your spiritual gifts. You can be abundant. It's just the stories that you either put in your space or you allow someone else to put there. So I love how that comes into the copywriting industry and sales as well. Because I cringe. I really cringe when I see it, because not only do I see it, I feel it.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm aware of that. And that's where the metaphysical side comes into my copywriting skills, is that I can feel the energy of the words. And the funny thing is, if you know the person, as you said, like, this isn't me. It's like, if I read that copy from you, I'd just go, Leanne, what are you doing? This isn't you. This isn't, your heartfelt, mindful message that this is some freaking car salesman, that this is what people think sales is. But I'd really, and it's a big job, too big for me, but really define what sales is for people and really for me, copy and sales just comes down to conversation and persuasion.
Yeah.
And persuasion, when done gently and with the right intention, will work. But if you try to do it from your own perspective and what you want from other people, then that's where you enter into manipulation, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're actually trying to get someone else to do your bidding, or I don't think that's all right. I mean, people do it, yeah, but let's just say I don't do it. I'm very ethical. I was talking to someone the other day. I mentor a lot of copywriters, and I said my mantra for life, and this is even before I started copywriting, it's for healing, it's for everything that I do. It's got to be right for me, you, and the planet, and then I will do it. If one of those is out of alignment, then I have no party. I have no part in it. So that's just my personal ethics that I live by, and it oozes into everything that I do.
Yeah. Well, mine's similar, and I'm going to show everybody what I use with some of my clients as well. So I've got my beautiful little heavy duck here.
Yeah.
And then the happy duck.
Yeah.
So, the heavy, is it moving you towards what you want, or is it heavy and fear-based and not in alignment, or is it moving you towards what you want?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
With whatever we do, it comes down to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because integrity is very important to me. Integrity, I mean, there's certain values that I really align with, and integrity and just treating people right, kind of how you'd have others treat you. And it's funny because there's even a copywriter who said something similar to that. He goes, write unto others the way you would have them write unto you. And I thought, of course, I don't want to read reams of self-absorbed crap, and no one else wants to do that either. We just don't have time. And I've got another sort of mantra or something that governs me, and that is, if I'm going to interrupt someone with my writing, then there ought to be a good reason for it, because people are busy. And the other part of that is I want to leave people feeling better than when they first started to read by the time they're finished. I want them to get something out of reading, instead of just, because, some people will tell their stories and they go on and on and on and on and on. And it's all me, 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 me. Well, there's a way to tell your story that you can actually involve the reader. And that is by making the personal universal. Yeah. So making it relatable and relevant to them. Yeah. So although I've told my story on depression, the way I tell it, it could be anyone's story. And I think that's what helps people to get the message and also keep reading. The whole idea of writing is to get people to keep reading.
And I think, Pauline, I want to acknowledge that what comes across in our conversation, you and I have very similar values, because for me, integrity is absolute key. It was one of my highest values. And, for me, that comes with authenticity. And what I get when I have a conversation with you is you, and the authenticity, the realness, the life experiences, rather than, putting ourselves up on a pedestal and going, everything's all flowery and rosy. We all have shit days. We all
absolutely
have experiences that challenge us, and that's part of the journey of learning and growth, and that's part of how we connect with people, whether it's through conversation verbally or through our conversation, like you say, in your writing, that we connect with them through that heart space, or even through, for me, connecting with loved ones who've passed over. It's all about that authenticity and realness and integrity. And, for me, you're not going to get me walking on a stage with high heel shoes. It's just not me. Yes, I can do it every now and then, but hey, came into the world without them, I'll go out without them.
Yeah, and I love that about you, and that is also what comes into your message and writing is the authenticity. And you know, there is a word that I absolutely hate, and I'll never ever use it in my copywriting, and I hate using it even to say it out loud, and it starts with the letter C. And it's not that word. It's actually compromise.
Yeah.
And I used to teach my students this all the time, is that what you're talking about there is authenticity and standing your ground, standing in who you are. But if you were to, and I tried to do this for a while until I realized what I was doing, and that's part of the reason I shaved all my hair off, because one day I was a potential client said, "Pauline, do you want to meet up?" And I just went, "Oh, wait a sec. No," because I could see the roots, my grey roots coming through my hair, and I only had it dyed like 2 weeks ago. And in that moment, I just went, "Who are you? You are a lunatic. She doesn't care about your roots. Only you can see the roots." So then I decided on my 47th birthday that I would just shave all my hair down to the grey roots, and I did it. And people were shocked, and I was shocked. It was shorter than I expected, but it was a change needed to be, because I wanted to be authentic and stand in my power. And because I realized that I was starting to compromise on my integrity and compromise on myself, my soul journey to, you know, I wanted to be a speaker, but dyeing the hair was, you know, probably one step away from the high heels. And I just, you know, went, no, that's not me. You know, I look at people like Ellen DeGeneres, and I go, you know, she's got a style. She doesn't wear freaking high heels. Just be yourself, Pauline. So that's why I decided to go grey, and I love it. It's just so real. And you know what? This is really me. It's like I wear it, and people just go, "Can't imagine you with other colour hair." Like, it just seems like you've had that forever. And it's like, wow, that's the power of actually owning yourself and just being you.
And you know, that does come across in our writing. And you know, I know we're talking about putting the heart in our writing, but that comes down to all our life experiences in amongst it, doesn't it? Because
it comes from somewhere. You're right. Like, the words on the page come from our life experience, knowledge, expertise. It actually is an essence of us.
Yeah.
So don't edit that out. Just let it flow through. And, you know, some people may not agree with the message. They might even think you're a bit kooky, whatever, that's them. But for every one person that thinks you're kooky or out there, there'll be another 100 that go, "Oh, finally someone said what needs to be said." You know what? A lot of those people are shy and they don't speak up. But, you know, just know that you are making a difference with your heartfelt and mindful message. Just be brave and say it.
And, you know, sometimes when people are ready to hear or see or feel a message, whether it's written or heard or whatever, then it'll sink, it'll hit that heart space, it'll get them in the soul. And when your soul's ready to hear it, you'll hear it.
Exactly right.
So, Pauline, you and I could chat all day about
I know. It'd be a long call.
So, can you just show people your book, firstly? If they would like a little bit more information about that, where can they find it?
This book is available on Amazon. It's called From Depression's Darkness to the Light of Life. And it's my story through depression. But because I couldn't read or write very well when I had depression, I started to draw pictures.
Oh, wow.
And these are a lot larger, and my little pictures were just black and white. But with this book, it's very, very honest. And I wrote a chapter on suicide, and it's called Selflessness in the Selfishness. Because I've got some ideas on suicide that, you know, because being there is different to then when people theorize about it and things like that. And also there is some good humor in there, because there's another chapter called I can't remember, but it's like I called God the C word, but it wasn't creator. Oh, that's right. It's called X-Rated Conversations with God.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
it's like, yeah. But I just wanted people to know that it's okay to feel what you feel when you're going through that. Other people will try to sugarcoat it. When I was depressed, people would give me books that thick to read, and I'm going, I can't read. Like, I don't want to read that. And so I just created what I thought I could have needed at the time. And the honour is that I've got feedback about that book. I get a couple of messages every other month, thank you, this book saved my life, or I gave it to someone and they decided to stay on the planet. So that's the thing about your story. You don't know who it's going to touch. You just, even if that book of mine saves one person, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely worth it.
Yeah. And I think that, while we're talking about putting your heart in writing, that's, part of the journey is that depression side of things that everyone at some point in their life has experienced. And, a little bit about my journey in getting to be living in Colombia, like, hello, why would you do that? So for me, I came through a really difficult relationship to a Colombian who lived in Australia, and I'd heard all about Colombia, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for a holiday. I've always wanted to see Machu Picchu. I felt stuck. I felt like my soul was just not growing. It wasn't learning anything new, and I was, working in my business day in, day out, and, connecting people with loved ones who passed over, and, that can be quite heavy in amongst it because you're dealing with grief and loss. And I just went, you know what, my soul wants an adventure. So I went to Machu Picchu and thought, okay, I'll check out Colombia while I'm here because I've heard about it, and just fell in love with Santa Marta, which is where I am, and it's known as the heart of the world.
Perfect.
So, and the Sierra Nevada mountains, which are here, are crystal mountains. So the energy is just beautiful, and they've got what we call the Lost City, and it's pretty much Machu Picchu on a smaller scale with a lot less tourists, and the spiritual energy is just amazing in this space. So, I've got back on a plane to go back to Australia knowing on a soul level and intuitively that I didn't want to go back, and, resisted and went into a dark space because my business went down. I had no client bookings. My apartment that I'd bought had major issues, rebuilding issues. I had 3 months with not being able to work, not being able to make my mortgage repayments, and I threw my hands up and went, okay, I get it. I'm done. I surrender. So put the house on the market. The guy who put the offer in wanted all the furniture to go with it, so made it really easy for me. I didn't have to do storage or anything. And went, okay, guys, I'm moving to Colombia.
Wow.
So, here I've been through those challenging times with, and, we've all experienced grief and loss as well. And from 12, I think, through to God knows what age, I've got so many people in spirit that have passed over that I've learned about grief and loss along the way that, puts you in a dark moment sometimes because you're in that heaviness and that sadness and the loss and the not having. And that's what depression's all about.
Yeah.
So if, like you said, if you can help one person, then you've served your purpose, and you serve a lot more than that.
Yeah, well, thank you. I was just going to add to something that you said just very quickly, is that I think there is a big difference between telling your story and staying in your story. And the thing that I get from both you and I that perhaps the listeners and the viewers can get is that, life does suck, but don't stay in your story. Just, make sure that you keep moving. And I always say that I'm always falling forward.
Yeah.
As long as I'm falling forward, that's all that matters. You know, I will continue to fall. Life's about peaks and troughs, but don't stay in the story. Just keep living it and keep moving towards, what we're here for. I think really depression for me, and people will say, oh, it's chemical imbalances, it's your gut health, it's this, it's that, and all the rest. You know what I actually felt it was for me? I was dislocated from my soul. Yeah. My soul knew it was time not to be in the army anymore, and I was fighting tooth and nail to stay. Yep. And as soon as I got out and started to reconcile the fact that I was no longer in the army, I started to get better. Yeah. It's like my soul knew that it was toxic for me to be in the army, and that was it.
Yeah, and our soul does know. So I appreciate that you've shared that story, and your book will help so many more people. So those of you who are watching and want to read Pauline's book, please jump online and get that copy for yourself, because it will help and support you. In terms of your copywriting, if people want to learn more about what you do in that way, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, I have a website. It's called thecopyalchemist.com. And on there I send out weekly emails, and they're basically a mix of a bit of a story, a bit of life experience, and then tied into a marketing or a copywriting message, just to help people be able to tell the story and know how to write better copy. And I've got a few other resources on my website as well. So it's thecopyalchemist.com.
Awesome. And if you could leave viewers with one tip or one strategy that they could use to put their heart in their writing, what would it be?
What I will say is, as a writer, don't fall into the trap of editing as you write. Write what you need to write the message, and then edit it. But also just be yourself. You're not writing a Pulitzer Prize winner. You're trying to just connect with people. So just have that one-to-one conversation with people. And, people who do that will beat copywriters with 20 years experience, because they are actually connecting at a human level rather than trying to get something out of a person.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
I think bringing in that humanness and that authenticity is really the key difference to putting your heart in it compared to sales.
Yeah, because people not only just read your words or hear your words. Something that a client said to me recently, and it really blew me away. She said, Pauline, I felt your words. Yeah. I felt every word you wrote. Yeah. And for me, that's, I'll tell you, I often cry when I write. Yeah. And if you make yourself cry with your writing, it means that you're on the right track. And I'm not saying like a false crying or anything like that. It's a real heartfelt. You just go, my God, those words. And sometimes, I just know that those words didn't exactly come from me. So it's like, just go with it.
Just go with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your energy with us today. And I wish you the best of luck in all that you do. And I know that we'll connect again further.
Thank you so much.
Whatever else is possible.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you to your viewers and listeners to allow me to share this with them.
Yeah, pleasure. And for those of you watching who want to connect with me further, jump on my website, thebarefootmedium.com.au. I do online readings or spiritual, psychic readings, mediumship readings, or transformational coaching. And we also run spiritual and cultural retreats here in Colombia to help you shift and transform any of that shit or those limiting stories that you've got going on, so you can have the life that you want and the life that you desire and follow your joy. Thank you, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Barefoot TV.